What's up, guys? It is Corey from SuperKamiGuru9000, and here it is, my review of Bleach, Chapter 537. Ishida Uryu, you sneaky Quincy bastard. I knew you were finally going to make an appearance in this arc. I just didn't expect it was going to be in this chapter, especially considering this is all about the backstory of Ichigo's mother, Masaki. We actually do get to figure out a little bit, anyway, about how she died this week. Now, this week's chapter was really a great exercise in how to finish up a flashback the right way and how to integrate it into the story in a really nice way. Over the course of the last couple weeks, we've been getting to know this character. We've learned that she's actually pretty powerful in herself. She's very goofy and she can defend herself. That's when we figured out that she was actually killed by this lower level hollow by the name of Grand Fisher, that it was really surprising. And a lot of us have been theorizing that, well, maybe that's not how the true events went down. And at the end of last week's chapter, we were actually given a hint saying that maybe that's not how it happened. And this week's chapter confirmed a few things. First and foremost, it definitely still looks like Grand Fisher is the reason why Masaki is dead. However, there is an important reason behind that. We actually learn a lot about the leader of the Quincy's this week, Juhabok. And first and foremost, Juhabok is definitely like the penultimate villain of the series. They go on to explain that he is the original Quincy, he's the very first one, and that every single Quincy has his blood inside of them. And this is really cool. It kind of explains why he called Ichigo his son, and why he refers to maybe some of the other Quincy's as his sons, or the princes, or whatever. And this is great because it definitely confirms that, Isen is definitely Ichigo's dad, which is great. This is exactly what I wanted to happen. I'm glad that there are still blood relations. But the biggest reason behind Masaki's death, a lot of it has to do with Juhabok. And apparently Juhabok is legendary amongst the Quincy status. He is apparently a sealed king. I want to explain that his heart comes back after 900 years. His intellect comes back after 90 years, and his powers come back after 9 years. There's definitely some sort of significance to the number 9 here, but it's really interesting because he actually gets his powers back by taking the Reiatsu and stuff from mixed blood Quincy's. So if there are any mixed blood Quincy's in the area or any that are around, they're going to die. I learned this week that Ishida's mother was Katagiri, and apparently she fell victim to Juhabok as well, as she was a mixed blood Quincy, and she was just too weak and her energy was taken. However, this also appears to be the reason why Masaki may have been killed as well. What is interesting about this is, though, even though she was tainted by a hollow, she was still considered a pure blood Quincy. So I'm not quite sure, maybe Juhabok is the reason she died in the battle with Grand Fisher, but I'm not sure why, because she was pure-blooded. It may have something to do with the fact that she did have the hollow stuff inside of her, and that may have confused Juhabok. I don't know. This is all speculation on my point at this part. But it's really cool that we finally get this information. Ichigo's obviously very glad that he got to hear it. He's glad that his dad told him this. And then we get that final bit at the end, which is really awesome. We finally get to see Ishida Uryu finally within this arc. And he's a Quincy, so he's definitely going to have some really big important stuff to play in this arc. Now, when you first are introduced to him, you get to see that Haschwald is getting ready to talk to Juhabok, and he's like, oh, is our subject here? And then you get to see him in that great big panel, and he's wearing some sort of Vandenreich uniform, which is way more Nazi-ish than I've seen than anything in the series so far, which is just hilarious, awesome, and ridiculous at the same time. I don't know how to judge this scene yet. I don't know if Ishida is a bad guy, if he's a double agent, if he's double-crossing them. From the stuff that we've seen in the past of the series, though, I don't want to believe that he's gone to the dark side of the Force, so to speak. I still think there's some good in him, and I think that there's actually a bigger plan going on here than we realize, and I really hope that's the case here. I really don't want Ishida to turn into the Sasuke of the series, and that was a big fear of mine when I first started watching Bleach a couple years ago. When I first started, I was like, Ishida, oh crap, this guy's essentially just going to be the Sasuke of the series, isn't he? And to some extent, he does have a lot of his qualities in hell. Even in the anime version, he's voiced by the same guy as Sasuke. But still, I don't think that's what's going to happen here. I think there's a bigger motive here. And, he's a really smart character. So I don't think he's just going to get, run over. It's a really thought-provoking chapter of Bleach. A lot of answers and even more questions at the same time. But that's what makes it really entertaining to read. It's finally great to see Ishida again. I know a lot of big Ishida fans are going to be very happy this week to finally just see him, just to know that his existence was acknowledged finally. We got to learn a little bit more about his lineage. We got to learn a little bit more about the death of Masaki. And of course, we got to finally learn about the history of Juhabok, if only a little bit. in his crazy 999-year process of getting powerful again. You know, this was just a good chapter. I really can't think of any negatives this week, so I'm probably just gonna give this one a 10. Just I liked reading it a lot. I'm gonna have to read it a few more times just to maybe make some sense of some things. But if you guys did read this week's chapter of Bleach, how did you feel about it? Were you shocked by the revelation that Juha Bach is the creator and the originator of all the Quincy, and even more so about the death of Masaki Kurosaki? I'd love to know what you guys thought. You can let me know in your comments below. Remember guys, before you leave, make sure to hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. That concludes this review today. SuperKamiGuru9000 out.